Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Lair of the Film Exorcist. Now tonight I've got a special announcement. Our beautiful artist, Opals, will be joining us for a lot of our newer reviews, including this fantastic review.
Hi, and I go by the name of Opals in my social media. I am a digital artist from Argentina. I also do covers of anime and city pop songs as well as some original songs on my YouTube channel. I am a hairdresser and that's my full-time job. Still, I find a way to also work on commissions, and I've done some things before, like give ukulele classes to children or being a storekeeper at the lingerie store. Back to the artistic part, I usually draw a lot of people and human figure, but I also do some furry. Apart from that, I have a comic going on, and I'm drawing the 5th chapter.
Now, tonight, for our very first episode as a team, we will be reviewing Beastars. The story takes place in a world of modern, civilized, anthropomorphic animals, with a cultural divide between carnivores and herbivores, which you may notice some divide in us tonight, with how she's a bobcat and I'm a raven, so yeah, two sides of the food chain. So we better keep an eye on her.
That's right. So, to begin with, it seems prudent to mention that Beastars is the first manga series by Haru Itagaki, which is the daughter of the mangaka Keisuke Itagaki, the author of Baki. That means Haru has good references, and it shows in the manga of Beastars. This is the kind of a third-party opinion, since I haven't read the manga. I'm here to talk about the anime's first season, but myself as an artist, I also found it prudent to compare it to the manga, of course.
Agreed, since I haven't read the manga either, so I feel that the manga might have too many spoilers from my point of view as a director, and it might just ruin the story for those that, like us, are more on Team Anime and a bit against Team Manga out there. Also on Team Dub and Sub. On top of this, I heard that Paru wore her favorite chicken head to the presentation of Beastars, which in my opinion has to be one of the coolest things I have ever seen and heard, and let's be honest, she rocks that chicken head.
Yep, she does. So, at the first glance, you can tell that the animation was made with CGI. At first, I wasn't really used to it, since the movements of the characters seemed a bit slow to me, but eventually it became really enjoyable, as the backgrounds were beautiful, as well as the lighting in many scenes. The anime diverges a bit from the manga, as Itagaki's style is very expressive and cartoonish, and you can't recreate it too much with CGI, I think. Also, we know that Disney movies were an influence for Itagaki, and we also know pretty well that Disney movies have a lot of very lovable animal characters. And in my opinion, you can tell the tendency to create animal characters with real problems in Beastars.
Well, I wouldn't go against your idea of it maybe being a bit expensive with the CGI, but I guess they can also be expensive as well. Now, I also saw that as well, especially when you realize that Disney's Zootopia actually came out 4 years before, with somewhat similar themes like discrimination and the idea that sometimes even the most harmless of prey can be more dangerous than the worst predators, which I kind of saw with the mare against Louis in this show. Now, I'd also like to make a point that I also really enjoyed the art style, especially when it came to places like the Predator's Black Market, which doesn't really look like a black market, or from what you'd think a black market would look like. It looks a lot like your typical farmer's market, but with only meat. I also really like the look of the stage during the school play because, like Opal said, the lighting of the scene worked very well with the background and made it and made me think that there was actually someone doing the play's lighting, which I personally have had a bit of a hand in doing before for a high school play. Oh, and before I forget, when I was writing this, I couldn't help but think about the first CGI anime we did on this show, which was the lovable Kimono Friends, which kinda shows how far CGI has really come since the time of that show and the time of the terrible Berserk series. But we'll attack that show soon enough.
So, about the visual style, of course you can consider it a furry style. Well, we are talking about an anthropomorphic characters, but their bodies look very human, unlike their heads, which are animal looking. As an artist that also draws furry herself and has immersed in that world to expand the illustration business, I realized there are different ways to express a furry style, from the most humanoid original character, like Itagaki's, to a fully animalistic persona, with some details that actually make the OC a furry OC, such as the eyes and facial expressions.
I can definitely confirm this because, as you can see, this time our characters have become furries, which was actually done by Opals herself. So yeah, for anyone in the comments looking for your own furry OC, or OC in general, Opals is your girl. But yeah, personally, I wouldn't say that I have as much experience with furries other than the anthropomorphic characters from Disney, like Robin Hood or Judy Hopps, and that's it, because in the rest of their movies, the animals have either been actual animals, or they're animals that can talk, like Todd from The Fox and the Hound. But there is one that I didn't mention on this list that I might be a bit familiar with, and that would be the Fantastic Mr. Fox, a very similar movie to this, with a anthropomorphic fox.
So yeah, I also wanted to talk about the opening of the anime. The song's called Wild Sigh by the multinational band Ali. It starts off with jumping chords on the piano, and you feel like you don't really know where they're going. At the same time, you hear the drums and rap. But once you understand the melody, you hear a funky guitar in the background, and the song already turned jazzy. With a beautiful jazzy pre-chorus, and then the chorus hits, and you watch a delightful stop-motion animation of Legoshi, that is the main character, and Haru, which is his romantic interest, dancing in the moonlight. Then the song as well as the animation take a dark turn, which I recommend watching by yourself. And I haven't listened to a lot of Ali myself, but I know they recently made a song for Jujutsu Kaisen ending or opening, I'm not really sure. And the song's above as well. It's called Lost in Paradise, and I strongly recommend listening to it. It's like the Wild Side 2.0.
Now personally, I don't know about you, but I thought the beginning sounded very similar to Cowboy Bebop or Baccano.
I agree.
With the quick start, and I think this might be one of my favorite openings because of the use of claymation and how it kind of reflects on Legoshi's emotions through the series, switching from the obvious expression of his carnal desires and then switching over to his desire to be with Haru as a couple. We also have the subtle appearance of Luis, who seems to constantly stand between Haru and Legoshi's relationship, while also protecting Haru because of his past with her and because of his general past. On top of that, it also kind of refers to the first episode by having Legoshi cut Haru, but unlike the visuals, he doesn't eat her. So it seems like, while I love the opening for its artistic and its art style and metaphors, Opal, our residential predator, loves the show more for its music.
Maybe so, yeah. So about the story of Beastars itself, I think Itagaki fulfilled the task of making a social criticism, and even better, the animals, which were always the protagonists of the moral stories for children, and tried to make you reason about a certain topic related to society. In the world of Beastars, there is a strong contradiction in how herbivores are the oppressed group, but they hold a certain racism towards carnivores. This is how carnivores have to repress their natural instincts to live in peace with the herbivores and thus form a society. Legoshi is obviously a big and strong carnivore, and Louis, an herbivore, is bothered by how he constantly suppresses his instincts. He is strong, he is everything Louis wants to be, but can't due to his weak nature.
But as both Opals and I know, this is due to Lisa's very dark past, which causes him to resent the carnivores, and also why he wants to be a Beastar, and make the world a lot safer for both communities. Now then again, I also feel like Luis is one of the worst racists in this show, because he constantly shows fear towards Legoshi, and tries to force him to accept his carnal urges. On top of this, we also technically get your typical racist ideals like some of Legoshi's classmates trying to get him to go out with the new wolf student, because they're wolves, and they think that it's wrong to be with someone of a different species. And this belief does also come from Juno, the second love interest, who instinctively falls for Legoshi despite his feelings for Haru. And technically, I don't think we have seen much of this since that one South Park episode where Eric Cartman tries to force Token with the other black girl, and actually ends up succeeding. We also see how some animals have also ended up selling themselves off to predators just to make a bit of money, which I guess is that world's equivalent of selling your organs on the black market. Either way, I find it very weird and very disturbing. Honestly, I feel this show is a lot more realistic than other shows and movies of its kind, because it doesn't pull its punches when expressing the morals of each character, and showing what true racism can look like. Oh, and the show also takes a deeper look at what it's like being called the school slut, through Haru, who for most part is seen as a whore because she's a rabbit, and because of this she embraces it and uses it as her over the other students. And during one of her scenes with Legoshi, we do see that it has basically become a secret. It has become a second nature to her. And because of this, it creates one of the show's most awkward scenes. So yeah, this has been Beastars, and Opal will be starting us off.
Yeah, I actually think the anime is pretty good. I'd give it a 8.5 out of 10. Since there are some things in the beginning that, for me, they don't fit. Like the murder of Ten and how everybody forgets about it, and how the word Beastar doesn't have any meaning throughout the first season. You just don't know why the characters want to be a Beastar for. Yeah.
I most definitely agree, except I seem to love it more than you due to the fact that I enjoyed the aspect of what I like to call Beauty and the Beast except with animals. And I believe Bill is the villain because he is the only person in the show who seems like they want to indulge a little too much in their instincts. So if by chance I'm right, don't hate me, don't send us hate mail, and don't try to burn down the comments section. Oh, and I most definitely loved how Legoshi is the physical definition of wolf in sheep's clothing. But because of all this, I'm gonna have to give the show a 9.5 out of 10. Because again, while this is one of my favorite of 2020, they did still drop the mystery of Ten's death pretty quickly to focus on Legoshi's love story. So, we'd recommend this to anyone looking for an excellent anime to watch, whether you're a furry or you're just a human.
Right, so don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and click the little notification bell.
And have a great night. Or Opal will eat you alive.
Yeah, that's right.
Good luck, guys.